In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm very excited to be introducing our next guest, Les Jensen. He's the founder of New Human Living and also the author of Citizen King. So welcome to the show, Les.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be on the show.
Well, it's so great to have you on the show. I hear your new book, and gosh, I've got it in my hand, Citizen King, The New Age of Power. This book kind of breaks some paradigms here.
Yeah, it does. It goes on the premise that we as souls have so much to offer our own self in our life, and when we honor our soul's inspiration and vision, we show up in a much more pronounced way as a citizen.
Well, that really puts us in a place of personal power. Before we dive into this too much, I have to ask you to tell us what inspired you to write this book.
Well, I've been really curious to our human nature. As even a teenager, I remember just watching people, and I was fascinated by what made them choose what they chose. I mean, what makes people decide what they decide? And over the years, I noticed that a lot of us kind of place our bets on the safe bet, where we don't really push ourselves, we don't really grow ourselves. And that got me even more curious about people who do. And what I walked away from it was every one of us is a very powerful potential, yet not very many of us really honor that or hone that or master that.
Well, and I know in your book you talk about karma, and a lot of people have a lot of different ideas about karma. I was real impressed with how you explained how karma influences our lives. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit?
Oh, sure. I had a moment of awakening, the cosmic 2x4 across the head kind of thing. And in this one moment, I had been struggling with my relationships, and I had ended up on a psychiatrist's couch. And he said, "Come on, Les, let's talk about anger." And I'm like, this is totally a waste of time. I don't get angry. And he's like, "Come on, appease me, come on." And I really thought it was quite trivial. And then he kind of got up in my face. He said, "No, really, I'm serious. Not only is it okay, you're safe, but I want to see it. Would you show it to me?" And I tell you what, in that moment, my whole life changed. This immense amount of raw energy came out of my persona as anger. And I'm like, wait, whoa, what is this energy? And I realized it was the first time I experienced karma. It was karma I had in my subconscious, and I had attracted very angry people into my life. And so I look at karma from a purely energetic point of view, that everything we've withheld in our life, given a voice to our anger, honoring our truth, everything we disown about the moment, we push into our subconscious, and it becomes a karmic propensity or a momentum.
Well, and with that, you can either make decisions based on, how your karma, from what I understand, is how your karma, it kind of just slows you down, and you can make the decision to release it and step into your personal power, or put on the brake.
Sure, the ego can really be afraid of it. What I had realized was there was dozens of decisions every single day that I would not even look at because it just might draw an angry response from myself. Mm-hmm. So, the boss wants me to work long hours without extra pay, and it's like, okay, I would concede my point of view rather than do anything that might bring an angry response from myself. So I'd really handcuffed or shackled myself into this dormant or even a docile kind of agreement with everything in my life that I would agree to it rather than get upset. And it so changed my life that part of what I write about in Citizen King is your ego really needs to understand the value, and it's an immense and powerful value. Your ego needs to understand the value of following sincerely and passionately the inspiration of your heart and your soul. And that's a simple sentence to say, but to really master that, that's why I wrote the book, it takes some doing to get your ego to trust that vision of your life, to trust your life purpose at a very grand level. If you don't take the time to condition your ego, you tend to hold that dream at arm's length, and you really aren't very passionate about bringing it about.
Well, and I know some people might be saying, gosh, it sounds kind of easy, but how can I change or resolve my karma?
Well, pay attention. Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to your feelings. Somebody will walk into the room and your feelings will change, or something you're planning on doing will fall through and your feelings will come up. Don't push them down. Stay in that sensitive arena and start tuning in to how you feel. Just to follow your soul will bring your karma up. And a very powerful thing to do, it's so simple, is get Post-it notes. Mm-hmm. And typically your brain will be distracted. You're unloading the groceries from the car, or your brain's doing something else, and you'll get a sentence from your heart and your soul. Go back to school. Write that book. Take dance classes. And what will happen is the very next sentence will pull it up in our ego and start rationalizing it. Oh, I don't have time for that. The school's 22 miles away. That put 2 more hours in my day. And the inspiration's lost. But when you recognize that sentence from your heart and your soul, write it down real quickly. Don't, before your mind gets a hold of it, write it down exactly like you heard it. And once that ink dries, it has some permanence in your life. And what will happen is, over weeks and months, you're going to get a whole bunch of these notes. That is, clear instructions about what your life was intended to be from your heart and your soul. And they become action items for your ego.
Have you discovered when you are doing these Post-it notes that you're getting some of the messages have a similar pattern or a theme?
Oh, sure. Over time. Like, I've written several books now, and I never saw myself an author. And when my heart first told me to write books, I'm like, you're kidding me. Who wants to hear what I have to say? And now I understand that I have a message of our personal power, our personal sovereignty to show up in a powerful way, and that it's something that's very much needed by our culture for people to show up in an authentic and powerful way, and I'm here to be that messenger. And the nice thing about it is when you honor those messages, your ego feels such satisfaction, such a deep sense of fulfillment at the end of the day. Well,
and I know that you are a guy that knows all about energy and power, especially from the job that you do. Can you kind of talk a little bit about the work you do and how that's kind of inspired you in writing the book?
Oh, you bet. That moment when I was in the psychiatrist's office and that anger came flowing out of me, that was almost a picture-perfect replication of what I did during my career. I worked in broadcast television, working on these very powerful, television transmitters. I'd make 1 million watts of power, and that's a lot of power. When you go up to a transmitter and you push the on button, big relays click in and a huge amount of electricity starts flowing, glycol pumps come online, blowers, and this power ramps up and then is broadcast out the antenna, and millions of people get this pristine television signal. Well, in that moment, my anger came up out of me. I'm like, this is exactly like a transmitter coming online. Mm-hmm. And it took me several years. It took me quite a few years to stand in front of those transmitters to really understand what is it about this beast, this big equipment in this room. What is it about this, quote, power, unquote? And then when I had that personal 2x4 across, I realized the power of our human condition is love. It's unconditional love. And to be able to hold the space of love, even though your ego and your eyes want to react, want to judge, want to posture, working with those television transmitters, I understood the power comes from the difference of potential. Einstein said you can't solve problems with the same thinking that created it. And when you see war and struggle and strife, all this stuff in the media, if you react to that, you've dropped into the same vibration as what you're observing. But when you can stay present, and it takes some discipline, and my book talks about that, when you can stay present and have unconditional love, compassion comes online at a caliber that's just off the charts, and it takes practice to do that.
How long did you feel it took you to get from, point zero to where you feel like you've really mastered or have really had a grasp of getting into that place of love?
Well, I did. After about 10 years of meditation, and mm-hmm. I started doing energy work after I had that episode. For most of us, especially the, quote, old souls, quote, unquote, among us, we tend to have really loaded up our subconscious with very prominent events from our past. And it wasn't until I had experience by paying attention and through meditation and through putting the awareness on my body, I would have I'd find other emotions. I would find other charges of karmic energy in my subconscious, and I'd release them, and after a while my ego quit being intimidated by it. Because the first time it happened, the reason I had suppressed anger is I grew up in a household where my dad, a World War II vet, he cut you in half with his eyes. If he got mad, the whole household would want to become invisible.
I think many of us grew up in households like that.
Oh, yeah. And so what was the consequence of feeling anger? Well, mom's afraid. All my siblings are afraid that this is terrible. This doesn't feel good at all. So the first time I felt that anger, is really an impersonal feeling. The anger's like, I don't care how you feel me. I'm coming out. Here I come. Mm-hmm. Feel any way you want about me. Our karma is really impersonal. But our ego can be scared of it because the feeling of it can be very intimidating. And that's what keeps us paralyzed from showing up in our life purpose with a genuine sense of personal power. And that's why I wrote Citizen King. Take the time to get your ego to understand that you're here to be a powerful person. And many of us don't ever honor that in a respectable way because our ego has no idea how to handle that. And to take the time, this will make your life vibrant and exciting and satisfying and fulfilling. When you pay attention to your heart and your soul, you get inspiration every day for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
It's a never-ending story. I've been doing this for decades now. I've written books. I have radio shows and whatnot. There's more to come. and I'm not going to say no. I've said no for decades, and I don't want to say no ever again.
Well, and what a great place to be in when we can stand in our personal power and
Right.
really do what it is that we're here to do. I know a lot of times, even people who are very accomplished as yourself, or they could be writers or professors, but it's very common that they feel like, gosh, I feel like I'm kind of a fraud, or I'm not really living up to my potential, and it's really getting that ego out of the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And your soul knows how to talk to you real time. If you live in your ego and you stare at your phone and you're checking Facebook and you're staying in your ego, paying attention to stuff outside of you, your heart and your soul have very little inspirational moments throughout a day, a week, a month, a year.
Mm-hmm.
But with these principles in Citizen King, your heart and your soul can inspire you many times in a day, many times in even an hour. And when you let your heart and soul have that kind of influence in your everyday life, life gets easier and it gets more exciting. Now, I'm not saying there's not moments of struggle. As you're going through your own karma, there is upheaval processes. But you're bigger than any story. You're bigger than any article from your past. And once you start to trust that, then you start really cleaning out the closet, if you will. You get a bigger shovel and you start going through your unresolved karmic imprinting from the past, and you can really accelerate your growth.
Well, what are some of the most common, like either blocks or obstacles that you see that people put in their path for that doesn't allow them to access their personal power?
They don't feel entitled.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
They don't. Our education system has students sitting in the desk and the person of authority at the front of the room. The employment system has employees that walk through the door and a CEO in the corner office that makes the choices. Religions have typically a single person at the top, and they're supposed to have some kind of a divine connection. No. Wait, time out. If you're breathing, you have equal access to that divine spark within you. Our divinity comes from within, not outside, period, end of story. But the way we were raised, who are you to change an industry? Who are you to change a vast amount of the culture? We went into the darkness of our collective karma through such atrocities. Do you think we emailed the city we were going to bomb in World War II? We just threw the bombs out the window and let them fall where they may. Nobody asked permission to be such a powerful negative influence in life. Nobody asked permission to crash the stock market, to take us into wars, to exploit our human condition. And yet when it's time for us to be powerful in a positive aspect, to be powerful in a positive way, we'll look at ourselves and say, well, I don't have authority to do that. Oh, yes, you do. When your soul inspires you, that's all the authority you need. We're here to break up the paradigm, not get permission from the old paradigms.
Yeah.
I think that comes from within.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people have grown up with the story that you're not good enough. And
Sure.
And you're right. It's like even from school age, because you've got the teacher at the front of the room. Not everyone's good at different subjects, some excel in others. And so, early on, people have been given the story that, hey, you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, or it's not enough.
Right.
So I could see where that would kind of block people from being able to really find their personal power and develop happiness.
Well, so often we'll get a vision of our future, a glimpse of what our life can be, and it can be really vast and big. I mean, you're a powerful person. You sit down at the table and you sign the contract, and 1,000 ships leave the port because of what you've decided to do. I mean, a very powerful image of what your life can be. And your ego can look at that and say, that's not me. I don't identify as that. What, me? That can't be me. And your soul's like, come on, this is just a stepping stone. There's even bigger ideas for you if you just show up with a little sense of trust in yourself. Citizen King was a very passionate project by me because we're here to turn the paradigm around. It's time for people that have a sense of compassion and forgiveness in their heart to show up in life in a very powerful way, in a very influential way. So when you get a vast vision from your heart and your soul, don't look away. Don't do that. Trust that if it's being shown to you, there's a path to make it happen. And Citizen King talks about how to get your ego in step with that vision coming true. And that's when life gets really satisfying and fulfilling, when you can genuinely show up for your potential, show up for your purpose in a passionate way.
And I know a lot of people talk about authenticity and being authentic, and that I believe, Citizen King really holds that up as, being able to be authentic and be in your personal power and enjoy life.
You bet. It's so often society will give us this snapshot of what the correct or appropriate citizen is, or the media will show us ideas, who's on the cover of GQ magazine or who's on, the talk shows. And we'll subconsciously form this idea that, it's those kind of people. It's those kind of people that move forward in a powerful way. But like I mentioned earlier, the paradigms we're living now do not honor our human condition. It's very easy to say there's still a vast amount of suffering on an everyday basis in our human condition. And the authenticity of how you feel in your heart and your soul is the new paradigm, is the new vision for what humanity can be. And so when you hone into your own authentic feelings and your own authentic purpose, that's the elixir, that's the medicine for our culture to turn everything around. And it can happen through you.
And what a beautiful place to be in,
Oh, sure.
In that personal power. So, well, gosh, Les, we could talk all day. This is, you bring about such a great energy, and I just love how you've put this book together. It really is the go-to example for people to just kind of shift and turn their life around. Where can our listeners find you to either connect with you, see about purchasing your book, or even listening to your radio show?
You bet. Citizen King, The New Age of Power, can be bought at Amazon or anywhere books are sold worldwide. Or you can go to newhumanliving.com. That's a platform I created to support you discovering your own authentic purpose and discovering your own authentic power. It's soul-level living personified. And New Human Living Radio is accessed through that newhumanliving.com page. And then I have a page for myself, lesjensen.com, which kind of gives a history of how I came to understand these principles. And there's some videos there as well that talk about our personal power and how to honor why you're here in a powerful and passionate way.
And I know that people could sign up for your newsletter at your website, lesjensen.com. And, Les, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here on the show today.
It's my good pleasure. I love talking about our human potential. There's no story bigger than our own human potential. So thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, thank you. And for our listeners, we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
He's the change management expert, interrupting ordinary lives and making them extraordinary. John Register, experiential keynote speaker, went from track and field Olympic trials candidate and Gulf War Army veteran through a career-ending injury, an amputation, to winning the Paralympic long jump silver medal in Sydney, Australia. Now he shows business executives and college sports professionals how to turn obstacles into opportunities. Book John to speak to your group. Kick off your New Year resolve to create the new normal at johnregister.com.
Need an appointment with a world-class intuitive? Worried about health, finances, relationships, or career? Hire the woman $1 Million Executives hire repeatedly. Zen Cryer DeBrook, a tested, award-winning intuitive, is taking new appointments.
Zen's readings are very clear, direct, and actionable. They boost your momentum and productivity and get you on track and moving very quickly to where you want to be.
Get a fresh strategy that works, personally and professionally. Schedule today at appointmentwithzen.com. Appointmentwithzen.com.
For over 4 million people, the clock is ticking as they hope and pray for a miracle, waiting for someone to offer them a kidney and another chance at life. Ari Sittner answered that call. Ari is a social worker, therapist, rabbi, coach, consultant, and keynote speaker, and the author of the new book, The Kidney Donor's Journey. This inspiring story shares Ari's remarkable experience of faith, family, and kindness as he saved the life of a single mom with 3 kids. Find The Kidney Donor's Journey on Amazon and visit Ari at akidneydonor.com.
I know we are unlimited, not only because I healed myself of chronic disease in only 3 weeks, but because I know what has helped thousands of my clients transform their own lives. My book, A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life, offers 30 easy and quick tools you can use to help transform any aspect of your life. Visit and subscribe to my site, JennyMannion.com, JennyMannion.com, for free gifts, including a guided healing meditation and the first chapter of my book. I look forward to offering you easy ways to help you get clear for the new year.
If not me, then who? This ethos is driving the Travis Manion Foundation to empower veterans and families of fallen heroes to develop character in future generations. In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq while saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on in the 5 words he spoke before leaving for his final deployment. If not me, then who? Guided by this mantra, veterans continue their service, developing strong relationships in the community and thrive in their post-military lives. Visit TravisManion.org and ensure the character of our nation's heroes lives on in the next generation. If not me, then who?
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited to be introducing our next guest, Sam Bennett, here to talk to us about Start Right Where You Are, her new book. So welcome to the show, Sam.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Hi, everybody.
Hey, it's so great to have you here. So you wrote this book that I think at this time of year, everyone should be able to pick up a copy of this and just dive into, because I think we all feel a little stressed, overwhelmed, and just at the point where we're kind of at that tipping point.
Yeah, it's overwhelmed is a word I hear a lot. You probably do too, and seems like more now than ever before, than even a couple of years ago. Like, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so overwhelmed. And I think it's important to remember that overwhelmed is actually a choice. Overwhelmed is a choice. And it happens when we can't tell what's important. You know, when everything seems to be coming at us with the same level of importance. So it's an opportunity. When you feel overwhelmed, it's an opportunity to really center back into your own self and your own values and your own priorities and make some choices.
And I think for people who get into the state of overwhelm, I mean, there are times when I've done that myself, and it's nice to be able to know that you can, get centered and get refocused and just kind of regroup and get out of that whole state.
Yeah, because it's not actually circumstantial. I mean, I think we feel like, okay, when it dies down, when it's not so crazy. But you may notice it never dies down. It's always crazy. It's always
that
crazy.
Is true.
Right? And especially with social media and online, like everything kind of comes at you with the same level of intensity, ping, ping, ping. So you really need to build some, create some boundaries for yourself. And I know that feels risky. It feels like, oh no, I'm going to miss something, or somebody's going to be left out, or I'm going to forget something important. But I think what you'll find is that when you keep your eye on your real priorities, and for me, where I would suggest starting is you showing up 100%, you being fed and rested and prayed and meditated and cuddled and creatively fulfilled. And, when you show up like that, all plugged in, we love that version of you, right? Like your eyes are lit up and you're listening and you have good ideas and you don't take things so personally. You have a sense of humor, like that's a great version of you to bring to the world. And in fact, the other version of you, the tired, stressed out, overwhelmed, underfed, underslept version, that's actually selfish to show up that way, because the rest of you have to deal with you when you're like that. And you're not fun. You're not fun. I'm not fun. You're not fun. None of us are fun when we're like that. So to sort of flip the idea of selfish on its head a little bit.
Well, and the thing that I really appreciated about your book is, I mean, you've walked the path. I mean, you were in a place where I think a lot of people can really relate to, kind of being depressed and broke and exhausted and just totally fed up. And then, during that, when all that was kind of at that point, what was that aha moment that made you go, gosh, these are the things I need to do to switch this stuff around?
Yeah, I wish it was just one big aha. Like, here's the lightning bolt, everybody. But it was actually a series of a lot of little ahas. But the first one, and maybe the most significant one, was realizing that it was time for me to stop waiting to be happy in the future.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I had kept, because I was frustrated. I felt like I was doing everything right, and yet nothing was really working. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Like, I'm doing everything, I'm following my bliss, I'm doing good work, I'm showing up, I'm nice to people. Like, why is this not working better? And I kept thinking, like, okay, well, just if I get this gig, or if I make this amount of money, or if I hit this goal weight, then it'll be okay. And, sometimes I would hit those goals and sometimes I wouldn't, but I noticed it never made me feel any better.
Yeah.
So I moved the locus of power. I moved the thing I was interested in from outside of me in the future to inside of me in the present.
Well, and, I agree with that. A lot of times you think, if I get paid more, or I have this job or this car, or look this way, or whatever the deal is, whatever the thing is that we want, that we think that will put us to a state of happiness in our future, if we, and when we obtain those, or maybe it's an accolades or what have you, a lot of times they just end up on a shelf.
Yeah, they're not actually making us feel better. So to realize that the only thing you have control over is the present moment. And the only thing you have control over is what your hands can actually touch right here, right in front of you. Mm-hmm. So, and to keep your focus as much as possible in this present moment, which is not to say you don't set goals and have plans, of course you do. But to quit pinning your well-being on those things that are in the future, and instead attend to your well-being right now.
That's exactly what people should be doing, where they should be at. Now, with the new year coming up, I know a lot of times, either if people are artists or just creative people, you know, they kind of look at the new year as, hey, this is a time where I'm going to start making, you know, these, you know, resolutions for the new year and things that I'm going to do, and ends up just, I think, overwhelming and stressing people even further. What are some tips that you can give for people to kind of scale that whole stress level back?
Yeah. One of the things, so I think one of the most important things you can do in your life is to spend time on the projects that matter most to you. The ones that matter most to you. They may not matter to anybody else, but they matter to you. They light you up. You know, they excite you. They interest you. And to spend time on those things every single day. Every single day. So whether that's playing a little bit of guitar or working on, you know, some intellectual endeavor or some kind of puzzle or some, you know, whatever it is that you love to do, to spend some time on that. Because first of all, you notice, you know, you get everything done for everybody else all day. Mm-hmm. But the stuff that really matters to you, you're not getting to. So to flip that on its head, right, say, no, you know what, my prayer and meditation practice or my daily walk or my needlepoint or whatever it is going to get some time every day. And then set what I call a minimum daily requirement. Minimum daily requirement, just like the nutrition, right? And think so small, like, you know, people are like, oh, I'm going to write 1,000 words a day. No, that's way too much. Think like maybe 100 words a day. Maybe think about one sentence on an index card. I'm like, okay, if I get one sentence down on an index card, I can be done for the day. You know, if I do 3 deep breaths in the morning before I start the car, that's my meditation practice. If I, you know, go for a 5-minute walk, you know, really set the bar low. Because sometimes you'll go over that. Sometimes you'll start writing and you write pages and pages, or you start meditating and you do a whole thing. But to give yourself just a little something each day, because then you're in it, you know, and projects feel very different when you're in it than when you're just thinking about them.
Oh, without a doubt. Because then that just ends up being another thing on your list that you have to do.
Well, exactly. And why would you take something that's supposed to bring you the most joy and turn it into another to-do list item?
You talked about breathing and meditation a little bit. I know in your book you discuss the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Can you explain that a little bit for our listeners? And and why should we do it? And does it really work?
Yeah. Well, let's just do it. Let's not talk about it. Let's just do it. So I'll talk us through it. We'll inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. We'll just do it one time.
Okay.
So just, make your belly really poochy soft. Mm-hmm. And then let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Ooh.
Exactly. That's how I feel too. I feel like
it brings a sense of calm and just relaxing just from doing that simple technique.
Just one time? Can you imagine if you did it 3 times or 10 times or, for an hour, like whatever works for you? It's amazing, and I don't even know where I learned it. I've been doing it for so many years, and it shows up in a lot of different traditions. It's not exclusive to one, school of pranayama or school of thought. But there's something about it. I think something about the counting is just irregular enough that, like, I can't stress out and count at the same time. And, people have told me, it's a deep activation of the vagus nerve. I mean, I think there's a whole physiological thing, but I just noticed that I just feel better. So doing that little bit of breathing, when I'm stressed out, in the car, in traffic. I have friends who have insomnia. They tell me it's great for insomnia. It's a good one.
That's a very good technique. Now, getting back to your book, I know that you said that in your book you talk about nothing bad is happening. For people who are just either, basically the people you wrote this book for, overwhelmed, procrastinators, and frustrated overachievers. So when you say nothing bad is happening, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's a big phrase. It means a lot of things to me anyway, and different things at different times. But one thing it helps me do is reframe what is actually happening. So, first of all, nothing bad is happening because whatever, how do we know what's happening is what's supposed to be happening? Because it's happening, right? So step one, stop arguing with reality, right? Stop saying that this should be different, or it should be, he should be that way, or she should be this way, or it shouldn't be that way, or it should be well, it is. So you arguing with it isn't making anything any better. And then to say, nothing bad is happening, which allows me anyway to get a little more precise with what is happening. Because maybe something uncomfortable is happening, or maybe something challenging is happening, or maybe something sad is happening, or maybe something that isn't going the way I had planned it to go is happening, right? So to get a little, rather than fighting what's happening, to go, okay, well, what is, okay, maybe this isn't what I would have picked, not everything is preferable, but what really is happening, and what is the feeling I'm having, and what can I do about that right now? The other thing it helps me do is not worry about things that aren't happening at all. I tell a story in the book about how one time the doctor's office wanted me back for a second mammogram. There was a shadow and they were very concerned. And I thought, well, yes, but nothing bad is happening. So I made the appointment and I go back and they're poking and prodding and everybody's walking around with very serious faces. And, oh, now we need to see you over here. And now we need to do this test. And I'm like, okay, but nothing bad is happening. And in fact, at the end of a very long day of tests, they said, you're fine, you can go. And I'm like, I know, because nothing bad is happening. I didn't know that there was not going to be some kind of diagnosis. I mean, it's entirely possible that there would have been some kind of diagnosis. But even then, okay, but that's not necessarily bad. If there's a diagnosis, then we'll deal with that. If I'm dying, then we'll deal with that. And I don't mean to be glib about diseases or dying, but they happen. And there's a lesson and an opportunity in what's happening.
And and having the right mindset makes all the difference, regardless of what is happening.
Exactly. Exactly.
If you go into it pessimistic, it's going to be ugly,
Right, exactly. And I've got friends who would have spent the 2 weeks before the appointment worrying, and then the whole time at the doctor's worrying, and just freaking themselves out, and driving their stress levels through the roof, and, being uptight and jumpy and unpleasant to everybody. Why do that when nothing is happening? So you have to spend the day at the clinic. That's not what I would have picked either, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's right? Definitely not. Now, I know you also talk about changing complaints into requests. How can someone do that? How is that even possible?
Yeah. It's the way I was raised, actually. In my family growing up, you weren't allowed to complain about something unless you had a suggestion or were willing to take responsibility for making it better.
That's pretty good. That's a good head start on having that positive attitude.
Yeah. It was a challenge, and because here's the thing to notice is, first of all, complaining is just a terrible strategy. Complaining doesn't work. Nagging doesn't work. It doesn't get you what you want. It doesn't make anything better. It doesn't change anything. It's just a crappy strategy. So just stop doing things that don't work, right? Yeah. And instead, really, either take responsibility for the situation yourself because you're the one who cares about it, or make a request. So, if you're mad because he keeps leaving the wet towel on the floor, you can either say, sweetheart, would you pick up the wet towels on the floor? At which point you run the risk that, he or she may say no, because they don't care about the wet towel on the floor, in which case you get to decide, wait a minute, I'm the one who cares about the wet towel, I'll pick it up. But to stand there and be mad at the towel and be mad at him or her for not doing it, this is not productive. So to really think about what is it that's troubling you about the situation and what's the request you would make to have things be better or different.
Well, and again, that puts things in such a different mindset. It really kind of makes things more pleasant for everybody around. Now, I know a lot of artists, and one of the, I think the major complaints of some professional artists that I've heard is that they are, they get overwhelmed because they feel like they're just doing a lot of either commissions or work that maybe they are not really so inspired to do. So if someone comes to you with complaints like that, what would be something that you would suggest for them to do?
Well, I think going back to that thing of spending at least a little bit of time every day on the projects that are closest to your own heart, I think that has a kind of a magical glow effect, So you may not be able to spend all day doing the work you totally love, but you can spend at least a little bit. And I think to also look at how you can make things that you don't like to do more like things like you do like to do. So, I actually talk about this in the first book and Get It Done a little bit. I'm like, to think about the times in your life when you feel happiest, when you feel most plugged in, when you feel most joyful, and how can you sort of pull some of those elements in? So, maybe you love to dress up and go out, but you have your taxes to do. So maybe you could dress up for your taxes. Put on a little lipstick and put on your party shoes, and promise yourself that once you're done, you can, go to someplace swanky that you enjoy. Give yourself a little prize or a present. If what you love is, music, can you be playing music while you work? Can you be, can you be amping up the elements that you do like to help give you over, get you over the hump of the things that you don't really care to do?
I think that's great advice. Now, again, with the new year coming up, what a great time to kind of declutter ourselves. What's some advice you have for that? Because I know you have some very unusual advice on how to get rid of clutter and kind of clean up your space a little bit.
Yeah, well, the thing about clutter is that, the advice around clutter is always like, well, just get rid of it. But, that's not always super helpful. And to recognize, like, what kind of clutter is it? Is it, because clutter is the residue of old decisions, right? Clutter is the residue of old decisions, whether it's mental clutter or physical clutter. It's something that you at one time said, oh, yes, I need this, or oh, yes, this is helpful. And now, not so much. It's stuck. It's stuck energy, right? So to go, well, what is it about this that makes me want to hang on to it? Is it the nostalgia? Do I love the memory? Do I love the person who gave it to me? In which case, what can I do to honor that memory, that feeling, that love, and get rid of the thing? Am I hanging on to this because of a dream of some future self I want to be? Like, if I keep these skis, maybe someday I'll get to go skiing. Or learn how to ski. Right. You may have noticed the skis are not actually getting you on the slope. So, acknowledge that desire and either move forward on it. Like, go ahead and start the penny jar for the ski vacation. Like, go for it. With enough to rent the skis, because really, you want to rent skis. You don't want to rent skis.
No,
you really don't. Or whatever it is, that thing in the future that you're like, well, I want to hang on to it. Or something from your past. I remember I had a client who had a whole bunch of old film equipment, because she at one time had a dream of being a filmmaker. And she felt like if she got rid of the equipment, it would be somehow giving up on that dream.
Ooh.
And I'm like, great insight, right? Great way to realize, oh, wait a minute. And like, P.S., technology has advanced. You can now make a film with your phone. So maybe we could get rid of this huge pile of old equipment and move forward on that dream of filmmaking without the burden of the stuff.
Yeah, because that really does add a whole lot more pressure. If you're an artist and let's say you decide you want to start using pastels someday and you've collected all these pastels and not doing anything with them, or just in life in general, because I think all of us have started a project that we've kind of squirreled away, thinking that one day we'll get back to it.
Yeah, and for a lot of things, completion is overrated. There's a lot of stuff that, like, you actually don't need to finish it. It's okay. You can get halfway through and go, you know what, I'm done. And be done. Say thank you, project. I learned what I needed to do from doing half of you. Vaya con Dios.
Yeah, not necessarily my deal. See you later.
Yeah, that's fine. This isn't Girl Scouts. This isn't school. You're not getting graded. You're allowed to give up on things. You're allowed to say, that was fun and I'm over it. And this idea that, we have to keep everything and we have to get maximum value out of everything. And also, we just hate to be wrong. We love the feeling of being right and we hate the feeling of being wrong. And there's nothing like looking at that pile of clutter going, that yellow coat that you spent $300 on that doesn't really look that good on you. And you're like, oh,
it's not my color.
It's not my color. It's not really a good shape. It's not let it go. Forgive yourself for a minute. You're not getting the $300 back. That's sunk costs. So let it go. Let it go on to fulfill its destiny as a coat. Somebody out there looks great in yellow, and free yourself from that mental ugh that comes from every time you look at it,
Yeah. Yeah. Now, in your book, and I know we just have a few more minutes here because we can talk all day. I mean, you just have such great information in regards to making these kind of shifts and really putting your mindset in the right direction for, having just, business success and personal happiness. Now, I know in your book you offer 66, doable changes that can lead to big joy. What are a couple that are some of your favorite?
Well, one of my favorites, some of them are super simple, like get your cell phone out of the bedroom. Just quit torturing yourself in the morning with your phone. Wake up like a normal person. Wake up. Give yourself back the gift of waking up. Another one, and this is really good when you're stuck, like when you're emotionally stuck, like you're mad. You shouldn't be mad, but you are mad. Or you're jealous, or you're sad, or maybe something has happened in your past that's kind of got you stuck. Make some 5-minute art about it. Make some 5-minute art about it. And what that means is you grab a piece of paper and you draw a picture of just how it feels to feel heartbroken or to feel jealous or to feel mad. Or you do a little dance, or you make up a little song, or you get out your Sculpey clay, whatever it is. And do it fast. It doesn't have to be good. In fact, I think it's better if it's not good. You never have to show it to anyone. But here's what happens. Here's a little bit of magic. First of all, feelings just want to be felt. Feelings just want to be felt. And once they've been felt, once they know they've been felt and acknowledged, they can get promoted and get a better job. Right? As opposed to trying to resist feeling to lock them away, that works, right? So let them out.
Them down's really successful, right?
Yeah. I'm not mad. I'm frustrated. I'm not mad, right? No, let it out. And then once it's outside of your head, once you've given that feeling some form, you can start to interact with it in a different way. You can start to get some perspective on it. You can start to have other feelings about it. You can start to explore those feelings some more. I had one client who was drawing her inner critic, right? That voice in her head that says, you're not good enough and no one's going to care and who do you think you are anyway? And right. So she drew this mean looking stick figure and all these voices in her head. And then she came back and she said, okay, great. So now I've drawn this, but now what do I do? I'm still scared of her.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, well, that's great though. But now you know what you're scared of. And, maybe you write an origin story for her. Maybe you write a fairy tale. Maybe you make a drawing a day for her. Maybe you make up a little song about, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good. You're terrible and you're no good. Really let that feeling have some expression. Because the minute it does, again, you can start to interact with it in a whole different kind of a way.
What a beautiful place to be in. It's so much more empowering to be in a place where you can let that stuff out and just kind of deal with it as it is instead of having it be the scary monster in the closet,
Well, exactly. I was doing an interview with the woman. Do we have time I can tell you one more quick story about this?
Sure.
She was interviewing me for her podcast, and she also, like a lot of people, still has a day job. And she had this so she's reading the book, and she's like, oh, yeah, make some 5-minute art. That's interesting. I should do that sometime. Right? Like we all do. I should do that sometime. The next day, she has this terrible day at work. Miserable, horrible, maybe I should quit day at work. She gets home, And she's like, oh, I'm so unhappy. I should make some 5-minute art about this. So she draws a picture of herself kneeling and everyone throwing rocks at her, because that's how the day had felt. Like everyone was throwing projects and deadlines and expectations and judgment at her, and she was being pelted with rocks. She took a second with that, and then she made a second drawing of her still kneeling in the center, but with an invisible shield around her. And she said the shield was God's love. She said she woke up and went into work the next day with a completely different attitude. Wow. Feeling so calm and so positive because she knew she was protected by the love of God.
What a great place to be in.
Right? I mean, a tiny little 1-degree shift. And can't you just see how her career can go in a whole different direction compared to walking into work with they're about to pelt me with rocks feeling? I mean, amazing. Amazing. I love that story. It gives me chills.
Oh. Yeah, that's a great story. Well, and Sam, gosh, we're just about out of time here. I do want to thank you for being with us here on the show today. Where can our listeners connect with you and purchase your book?
Yeah, you can get the book wherever fine books are sold. Support your independent local bookseller or get it online. Mm-hmm. And there's an audio version and a Kindle version. You can also, but then come to startrightwhereyouare.com. Startrightwhereyouare.com, because there's a bunch of free resources, and you can jump on my email list there and write me back and tell me about your projects, and we'll be pen pals and best friends. It'll be great.
Oh, perfect. And then I also know that you have a community that you're involved with as well. It's the, and I don't have the email in front of me here, it's the artist one.
Oh, the Organized Artist Company. Yes, the Organized Artist Company is my real business. So you can go there too, theorganizedartistcompany.com. And again, there's just a ton of free resources and a blog and all kinds of fun stuff.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today, Sam. We so greatly appreciate it.
Oh, Marianne, it's my joy. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, as we say goodbye to Sam, I want to take a few moments and thank each and every one of you for the time that you've spent with me this last year. We've had some amazing show guests. We've got an incredible lineup that's going to be happening in the year to come. Can't wait for 2017. I know a lot of people I've talked with have had a really challenging 2016. So take the opportunity to release what it is that you need to get out of your life and look forward to this new year with joy. So in just a couple days, the Christmas holiday is going to be here. And for me, this has always been such a great time to spend with friends and people that you love. So the holidays for me are about what I can give as opposed to what I can get. So I know that we go along our day and spread as much Christmas cheer as possible. And I ask for you to join me in performing random acts of kindness. I personally will be spending time at the local food bank that we have here, as well as in our area, we have what's called the Denver Rescue Mission that serves meals to anyone that needs a meal. So take time, find out what's in your community and how you can be of service. It's when we're of service with others, no matter how bad things are going, that always make things look up. And just want to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas. Thank you for taking the time to tune in with us today. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pestana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepestana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.